everyone, I'm Daisy, and welcome to Easy English with Daisy. Here on this channel, we'll improve your English together in the easiest and most natural way. Each video includes slow, clear conversations to help you understand everyday vocabulary and expressions. You can also practice shadowing with me to level up your pronunciation and speak English more confidently. Let's learn English the easy way and make it fun. See you in the lessons.
I am sitting in the international departure area at Los Angeles International Airport. The electronic board in front of us clearly reads Bangkok, on time. Jonathan is sitting next to me, leaning back in his chair, holding his familiar backpack. He looks calm, much calmer than I feel.
You're overthinking again, aren't you?
No, I'm just thinking. We're actually here. This is real now.
This is real now.
I smile as I say it, because if I am honest, this trip didn't start today. It started weeks ago, long before we arrived at this airport, long before our suitcases were packed. A long trip is never planned in a single day. Anyone who thinks we woke up one morning and casually decided to fly to Thailand doesn't know us very well.
Do you remember, at first, I only wanted a short trip somewhere in the US.
I remember. You said you just needed a change of scenery.
He's right. At the beginning, I wasn't thinking about Asia at all. But then, I started reading travel blogs, especially blogs written by American couples traveling Southeast Asia independently. No tour guides, no rigid schedules. Just people figuring things out as they went. Thailand kept appearing in those stories, again and again. Affordable, welcoming, manageable for first-time independent travelers, and different enough to feel like a real break from our everyday life in California. That's when the idea stopped being a fantasy and slowly turned into a plan. Why we chose to fly from Los Angeles, California, living in California, flying out of Los Angeles made the most sense. LAX has more international options, better connections, and more reasonable prices for long-haul flights. We didn't book our tickets in a day. We spent almost 3 weeks comparing departure airports in the U.S. You have flight durations and layover times, ticket prices versus physical exhaustion. Eventually, we booked a flight, departing from Los Angeles, California, USA, 1 layover in Tokyo, final destination, Suvarnabhumi Airport. It wasn't the cheapest option, but it felt like the smartest one. Planning for weeks, without locking ourselves into a daily schedule. As I sit here waiting to board, I can clearly remember those evenings at home. Laptops open on the dining table, notes scattered everywhere.
I want a plan, but I don't want to feel trapped by it.
Then let's plan the framework. Not every single day.
That became our rule. We decided on around 3 weeks of travel, 3 main destinations, Bangkok, Chiang Mai, and Phuket. No guided tours, no fixed daily itineraries. Instead, we spent our time researching independent travel blogs, transportation between cities, common mistakes first-time travelers make in Thailand. Some nights, we didn't plan anything concrete at all. We just talked.
What if we get lost on the first day?
Then we figure it out. That's part of it.
Preparing to travel without a tour guide. Traveling without a guide means taking responsibility for everything.
What worries me most is arriving and not having internet.
We'll buy a SIM card at the airport, and we'll download maps offline.
We split our preparation tasks naturally. I handled offline Google, Maps Grab, and Google Translate. Saving accommodation addresses in both English and Thai reading, about local customs and temple etiquette. Jonathan handled informing our bank about international travel, travel insurance, cash and backup cards, copies of important documents. None of this happened in a single night. We prepared slowly, step by step. Some evenings, all we did was install one app or read one article, packing, deciding how much of our life to bring with us.
I still feel like I didn't pack enough.
No, you packed just right. Too much stuff only makes things harder.
We agreed on one small suitcase per person, one carry-on backpack, no expensive or fragile items I left behind, a few dresses I loved but knew would be impractical. Jonathan brought an old pair of sneakers.
If they get ruined, it's fine.
Waiting to board when everything becomes real. The airport announcement echoes through the terminal, calling our flight number. I take a deep breath.
Are you nervous?
A little, but in a good way. We've prepared for this long enough.
I smile, because he's right. This trip wasn't impulsive. It was built over many days, through conversations, compromises, research, and shared decisions. As we stand up and roll our suitcases toward the boarding gate, I realize something important. Our independent trip to Thailand didn't begin in Bangkok. It began right here, at this gate, when we chose to trust our preparation and step onto the longest journey we've ever taken together as husband and wife. After nearly 20 hours of flying, walking through transit airports, and trying to sleep in uncomfortable positions, I finally step out into the arrival hall of Suvarnabhumi Airport. The air feels different immediately. Warm, heavy, slightly sweet, mixed with something I can't identify. I stop for a second without realizing it.
Hey, you okay? You okay?
Yeah. It feels real now.
He smiles. I know exactly what he's thinking. We're no longer planning, no longer reading blogs or watching videos. We're here. And from this point on, there's no guide, no itinerary, no one to tell us what to do next. First decisions, SIM cards, money, and not panicking.
Okay, first thing, SIM card. Before anything else.
Agreed. Internet first, panic later.
We walk up to one of the mobile counters near baggage claim. I let Jonathan handle the conversation. The staff speaks clear English, explains the data packages, and within minutes, we're connected. The moment my phone shows full signal bars, I feel my shoulders drop.
I feel 10 times better already.
Told you, internet is survival.
Next comes cash. We exchange a small amount, just enough for the first day. We agreed back home not to change too much at the airport. Every decision feels small, but also important. Without a guide, each step matters. Getting into the city, trusting what we prepared. It's already evening by the time we leave the airport. Outside, Bangkok is glowing. Neon signs, traffic, people moving in every direction. I hesitate at the taxi stand.
Are you sure this is the right line?
This matches what we read. Official taxis only.
We hand the address of our Airbnb to the driver, printed in both English and Thai, just like I prepared. The car pulls into traffic. I watch the city through the window. Street food stalls, motorbikes weaving through cars, people sitting on tiny plastic chairs, eating and laughing.
It's so much more alive than I imagined.
And louder.
As the taxi slows down near our neighborhood, I feel something unexpected. Nervousness.
Jonathan, What if we mess something up? Like, culturally?
We probably will. But we're trying to be respectful. That counts.
I nod. That was always our intention. Not to blend in perfectly, but to observe, listen, and adjust.
Okay, this definitely doesn't look like a hotel.
Right? That's kind of the point, right?
Dragging our suitcases over uneven pavement. The host greets us with a smile, hands us the keys, and shows us inside. The room is simple. A bed, a fan, air conditioning, a small table.
I don't need anything else right now. Can we just walk around a little?
Yeah. Close to home, no big adventures.
Stepping back outside, our first walk in Bangkok. Despite the exhaustion, neither of us wants to sleep yet. Jet lag has its own plans. Outside, the street feels alive, even at night. Food smells everywhere. Grilled meat, fried noodles, herbs, spice. I slow down instinctively, watching how people move, how they order food, how they eat. We stop at a small street food stall. No English menu, just pictures and gestures.
Is this the moment?
This is definitely the moment.
We point, smile, and order something we can't pronounce. Our first meal and first lesson. We sit on plastic stools, sharing one plate.
Oh, wow. That's...
Spicy.
Your face is turning as red as that chili sauce.
But it's good. Really good.
Around us, locals eat quickly, casually, like this is the most normal thing in the world. And for them, it is. That's when I realize something important.
This is what we came for.
Not the temples yet?
Not yet. Just this.
Ending the first night, quietly. Back in our room, I change into lighter clothes and sit by the window. As I turn off the light, the sounds of Bangkok drift in through the window. Motorbikes, voices, distant music. I realize something before falling asleep. Our first day in Bangkok wasn't about sightseeing. It was about arriving, adjusting, learning how to exist in a place that doesn't revolve around us. When I woke up that morning in Bangkok, it felt very different from the night before. The first night was about survival, finding food, finding our room, convincing myself that we had made the right decision. But morning has a way of making things clearer. The light came in softly through the window. The city sounded alive, but not aggressive. And for the first time since leaving the U.S., I didn't feel like a visitor passing through. I felt like someone who had to learn how to live here, even if only for a short time. Back in the U.S., everything moves according to systems I understand. Cross the street when the light turns green. Order food from a menu you can read. Get in line. Follow rules that are clearly marked. Bangkok didn't work like that. Not exactly. And that difference is what scared me before we came. Now, standing in a small room thousands of miles from home, I realized something quietly, but clearly. The fear mostly came from not knowing, and the only way to get past that was to step outside. As I stood in front of my open suitcase, I wasn't choosing clothes just for comfort anymore. I was choosing how I wanted to show up in this city, stepping into the street, where confidence is learned, not assumed. The heat hit us the moment we stepped outside, wrapping around us like a constant presence. Not unbearable, just honest. This was Bangkok reminding us where we were. Crossing the street was our first test. Traffic didn't stop neatly. There is no single moment when it felt safe, in the way American streets feel safe. I hesitated, instinctively reaching for Jonathan's arm.
In the US, this would feel illegal.
Here, it feels normal. Watch them.
He meant the locals, and he was right. We waited. We watched. When they moved, we moved. No panic, no rushing. When we reached the other side, I felt a small but real shift inside myself. This city wasn't chaotic. It was patterned. I just hadn't learned the pattern yet. Breakfast in the first quiet realization. We ate breakfast at a small street-side place. Metal tables, plastic stools, no English menu. Back home, that would have made me nervous. Here, it felt strangely right. We ordered by pointing. We trusted the process. As we ate noodles in the morning heat, I watched people around us. Office workers eating quickly, older men sipping soup slowly, a woman feeding her child.
This doesn't feel like tourism.
It feels like borrowing someone else's morning.
That sentence stayed with me because it was true. Back in the U.S., travel often felt like consuming experiences. Here, it felt like temporarily stepping into someone else's routine, and that required humility. The BTS, fear turning into familiarity. Before coming to Bangkok, I had read so much about the BTS Sky Train. Maps, tips, warnings. Still, standing in front of the station, I felt my chest tighten. This was the moment where preparation had to turn into action. Buying tickets was easier than expected. Clear signs, English options, calm staff. On the platform, the train arrived quietly. Clean, orderly. Inside, people stood without pushing. Phones were silent. No one ate or spoke loudly. I lowered my voice without thinking. That's when I realized something important. Bangkok wasn't loud everywhere. I had confused energy with noise.
I thought this would be overwhelming.
It's overwhelming if you fight it.
Walking without purpose. And why that mattered? We got off the train without a plan. No landmark. No must-see location. We just walked. Side streets showed us more than guidebooks ever could. Small shops opening for the day, people cleaning storefronts, neighbors talking. I noticed how my mindset had shifted since being in the U.S. Back home, walking without purpose often felt like wasting time.
I don't feel the need to do anything right now.
That might be the healthiest sentence you've said all trip.
I know, right?
Here, it felt like learning, a mistake, and the lesson inside it. Later, we exited the wrong side of a station and walked farther than intended. My old habits tried to return. Frustration, self-blame, the urge to rush. But instead of snapping, we stopped. We checked the map. We asked for help. A local security guard smiled and pointed us in the right direction. No annoyance, no judgment. That moment changed something in me. I realized how often, back in the U.S., I treated mistakes as failures. Here, mistakes felt like part of the process. Expected, almost welcomed. Ending the day with a different mindset. That night, back in our room, I felt physically tired, but mentally calm.
Something feels different.
Good different? Or scary different?
Good. Like, I trust myself more here than I thought I would.
And that surprised me. Bangkok didn't change overnight. We did. Not dramatically, not all at once, but enough to notice. I went to sleep, understanding something that would shape the rest of our journey. The world didn't feel smaller after leaving the US. It felt more understandable once I stopped expecting it to work the same way. By the fourth day in Bangkok, something inside me had settled. The city no longer felt like a puzzle I needed to solve. It felt like a place I was slowly learning to listen to. And nowhere did that lesson become clearer than the day we decided to visit temples. Not as a checklist item, but as a way to understand what respect actually means outside of the US. Back home, I associated temples with sightseeing. You arrive, you look around, you take photos, you leave. But Bangkok temples didn't feel like attractions. They felt lived in, active, observed. That realization made me nervous in a different way. Entering sacred space. Learning to slow down. We arrived at Wat Pho in the late morning. The sun reflected off the tiled roofs, almost blinding at first. Tourists were there, yes, but so were locals. People praying, sitting quietly, moving with purpose. Inside the temple grounds, I became acutely aware of my body, how I walked, where I stood, how long I lingered, not out of fear, but out of awareness. Back in the US, personal space is something we claim loudly. Here, it felt like something we were invited into, if we were careful. Photography, or the decision not to take it. I raised my phone a few times, then lowered it again. There were moments I wanted to capture. The light, the details, the calm.
I don't feel right taking pictures of everything.
Maybe some things aren't meant to be taken home.
That sentence stayed with me longer than I expected. Back in the US, experiences often feel incomplete if they aren't documented. Here, I felt the opposite. Being present felt more respectful than proving I was there. The quiet contrast with American habits. As we walked through the temple grounds, I noticed how people interacted with the space. No rushing, no loud laughter, no posing for attention. I compared it to how we often move through spaces in the US. Fast, efficient, goal-oriented. Here, time felt circular instead of linear.
I think I confuse freedom with doing whatever I want.
And maybe freedom is knowing when not to.
That was one of those moments that didn't feel big at the time. But later, it reshaped how I thought about travel entirely. A moment of discomfort and growth inside it. At one point, we watched a tourist get gently corrected by a temple staff member for standing too close during prayer. The correction was calm, respectful, no embarrassment intended. I felt my stomach tighten, not because of the situation, but because I realized how easily it could have been me. Instead of feeling defensive, I felt grateful. Grateful that this culture allowed space for learning without shame. Back in the US, correction often feels like criticism. Here, it felt like guidance. Leaving the temple changed, but quietly. When we stepped back onto the street, the noise of Bangkok returned instantly. Motorbikes, voices, life moving fast again.
I don't feel like I just visited something.
Feels more like something visited you.
Oh.
I smiled, because that was exactly it. The temple didn't demand anything from us. It didn't ask us to understand everything. It simply required one thing. That evening, sitting in a small cafe, I thought about how differently I approached places back home. In the US, I often focus on comfort first, speed, convenience, personal preference. Bangkok was teaching me something quieter but deeper. Comfort doesn't always come first. Respect sometimes means restraint, and understanding often begins with listening. This wasn't about religion. It was about presence. And that realization followed us long after we left the temple grounds. If temples taught me about respect, then street food taught me about trust. Before coming to Thailand, food was the part I worried about the most. Not because I didn't like trying new things, but because back in the US, street food often comes with rules, regulations, and a sense of caution drilled into us early. Clean kitchens, clear labels, familiar ingredients. Bangkok didn't offer any of that certainty. What it offered instead was smoke rising from grills, the sound of oil crackling in pans, people sitting shoulder to shoulder on plastic stools, and meals that looked nothing like what I knew, yet somehow felt inviting. We stepped out without a destination, something that would have made me uneasy back home. Following our senses, not a map. Bangkok at night feels different. The heat softens. The city smells stronger. Grilled meat, herbs, sweetness, smoke. Instead of opening Google Maps, I followed sound and smell. We stopped when something pulled us in, not when an app told us to. That alone felt like a quiet rebellion against how I usually lived in the US, where efficiency often came before curiosity. The stall that scared me a little. We stopped at a small street food stall. No English sign, no menu, just a few handwritten Thai words and a grill that looked like it had been there forever. Locals filled most of the seats.
I don't know if I can do this. I've never tried anything like it before.
We don't have to eat here.
I looked around. People were laughing softly, eating without concern.
No, I want to. I want to.
That mattered. It wasn't pressure. It was choice, ordering without understanding, entrusting anyway. We ordered by pointing, smiling, nodding. The woman cooking didn't ask questions. She just cooked. When the food arrived, it was simple. Grilled meat, rice, herbs, eyed sauce on the side. I took the first bite slowly. It was incredible. Not just delicious, but grounding, honest. Like food that didn't need to impress anyone.
I think I overthink things too much.
Only when you're trying to stay in control.
That hit me harder than I expected. The deeper realization, control versus trust, sitting there, surrounded by strangers, I realized something uncomfortable but true. Back in the US, I often confuse control with safety. Knowing the menu, knowing the price, knowing what comes next. Here, none of that existed. And yet, I felt safe. Not because everything was predictable, but because people were present, attentive, human. Trust didn't come from systems, it came from participation. A conversation that stayed with me. As we ate, Jonathan watched me quietly for a moment.
You look different tonight.
How?
You're not scanning for problems. You're just...
Here.
I thought about that. Back home, I often lived one step ahead, planning, anticipating, managing. Bangkok was teaching me to live where my feet were, dessert and laughter, letting go completely. We ended the night with something sweet from another stall, something coconut-based, warm, unfamiliar. I laughed when I realized I couldn't even guess what it was called.
I don't need to know everything.
That might be the lesson of the trip.
Walking home, lighter than before. As we walked back through our neighborhood, the city felt softer, not quieter, but kinder. I thought about who I was before leaving the US, careful, structured, always prepared, and who I was becoming here, observant, adaptable, willing to trust. This change didn't feel dramatic. it felt natural, like something that had been waiting to surface.